So today's topic is about taxonomy in biology. And basically what that is, it's just classifying living things into many, many groups because if we weren't to classify them, how would you know what to call them, right? Because one species, one certain species may look similar to another certain species, but we need to be able to differentiate them and use characteristics to give certain names to them, specifically scientific names. So that's where taxonomy is a big role and plays a big role into naming today's organisms. So let's go right into this video. Biobus. Taxonomy. Classifying living things is today's topic. So let's start off with this. There isn't one particular meaning of the diversity of life. You'll learn how living things are named and grouped. So this is the definition of life. So I searched up on the internet, and this is what I saw when I searched up definition of life. It said the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity of growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. So this is, and then the second thing says the existence of an individual human being or animal. This is not as specific. I mean, it's not as generalized because it can also be plants, bacteria, archaebacteria. So this is not a very good definition. But this one, the reason it's not better either because it's just saying animals and plants. But the reason why there is no definite definition to life is because we could say living things move, and that's true. But is it not moving when we roll a ball down the hill or when a kite is flying? Those are also forms of moving. So remember that there's no definite meaning to life, but it can be defined in terms of the function performed by living things. The functions, I should say. So here are 8 main functions of life. So in order to maintain life, all living things need to carry out different biochemical and biophysical activities, which are known as life functions. So here are some of the functions. First up, we have nutrition. So this is the sum of the total activities when an organism obtains food. Next, we have transport. So transport is the movement and distribution of materials within the organism's body. And then respiration consists of breathing and cellular respiration. So inhale, exhale. And then excretion removes waste products and other waste products of the other life functions from the body. And this is very important. Okay, next, regulation. So this includes all the processes that control and coordinate many activities. So it kind of has to do like with your uh, endocrine system and all those hormones that kind of control, like for example, like adrenaline, right? We have adrenaline like when we're encouraged or confident. We have and nervous actually. We have all that adrenaline going out of us. So that's an example of regulation. And then growth, this is just us growing by height. It describes the increase of cell size and cell numbers. So your body's growing. And finally, we have reproduction. This is the process in which new individuals are produced from parents. So the reason why that S is kind of like that, it can be parent or parents, is because there are two forms of reproduction. There's asexual and sexual. So asexual reproduction is when there's only one parent needed to uh, make a new individual. And that usually happens like with bacteria and those more prokaryotic types of organisms, while sexual reproduction is for the more complex. So, for example, us humans, we need a mom and a dad to make us. So, yeah. How are living things named? So, about 8.7 million kinds of plants and animals have been discovered. Really cool, right? And more are being discovered every single day. So, in order to identify and study these organisms, biologists have organized them into groups. So, this process of organizing living things into groups is called classification. The basic unit of classification is species, so the most basic unit. And a species is a group of similar organisms that can mate and produce fertile offspring. And species is not a reproductive unit, not is a reproductive unit, excuse me, but it's not one defined by geography. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say, for example, once brought together Mexican male Chihuahua can mate with a female Chihuahua born in France. And even though they were born in different places, they're still the same species, so they're compatible. But in rare instances, members of closely related species, for example, horses and donkeys, can also mate and produce offspring, which makes the product of a mule. So here we have just a picture showing the big diversity of all the kinds of animals there are, and this is just one small part of it. There's so many more to see. And then this one is a picture of the percentages of described species. And as you can see in this like pie chart graph, vertebrates are back animals with a backbone, and we are a vertebrate, and we make only 1% of the population, while creatures that don't have backbones and beetles and other small creatures like beetles, flies, wasps, they make up like 50% of it. So shocking, right? And then the other thing that popped out is others. Others are things that haven't been classified yet. And there's even more that haven't been classified than ver- um, vertebrate animals that have been classified already. So it's pretty cool to see that kind of graph. Okay, so next we have who made the system of classification, right? So Swedish botanist and physician Carl Linnaeus is credited of formalizing the two-word system of naming organisms called binomial nomenclature, and this has given him the name father of modern taxonomy. So he based his system of classification on the anatomy and structure of organisms. And the way we got binomial nomenclature, the name is bi means two, nomial means name, and then nomenclature is system of naming. So together we have binomial nomenclature. So since it's a two-word thing, the first word in the system is called the genus. This is the next higher unit of classification after the species. The second word is species, which together this name is a scientific name in Latin. So I use the example of humans. So humans is Homo sapiens. So the genus is Homo and the sapiens is the species name. And this is how Carl Linnaeus looks like. Okay, so here are all the classification orders. So first up, the most generalized we have is the domain, and we'll talk about the three domains there is. Next, we have a kingdom, then we have phylum, then class, then order, then family, then genus, and then species, which is the most basic. And here is a helpful mnemonic to help you remember the taxonomic ranks. So, dear King Patrick came over for George's sword. Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. All right, so here are the three domains. So we have bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. Eukarya or eukarya. Okay, so bacteria is, bacteria, there can be good bacteria, bad bacteria. And what archaea is, it's kind of those, it's actually used before, it used to be a part of bacteria. It used to be bacteria and archaea together, used to be Monera. But now they separated it because they realized that archaea bacteria are a little different. And archaea bacteria, what makes them so different is that they live in very harsh, hot environments. So in like thermal vents and stuff, which makes them different from bacteria. That's why they're now two separate domains. And then eukarya are your animals, your fungi, your plants, your protists, all of that. And here's just a picture showing all of it. And you can see how like eukarya has a lot of phylum and stuff, more than bacteria and archaea. Okay, so here we have the example of humans, and we're still using the same taxonomic ranks of domain and then kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. So first up, we have the domain, and it's not shown here, but the domain is going to be a eukarya, which we talked about on the slide before. And then after that, we have animals. So animals are organisms able to move on their own, and they are in the kingdom category. Next, we have chordates, which are animals with a backbone, and they fall under the phylum category. And then we have mammals, which are animals with fur or hair and milk glands, and they fall under, the phylum category, the class category. And then we have the order category, which are primates, and these are mammals with collarbones and grasping fingers. Then we have hominids, which fall into the family category. And these are primates with relatively flat faces and three-dimensional vision. Then we have Homo, which is the genus, and these are hominids with upright posture and large brains. And then finally, Homo sapiens, humans, these are the members of the genus Homo with a high forehead and thin skull bones. So you can see, like, as we go down this upside down pyramid, you could say, it gets more specific as we go down, right? First it was just animals, then it was animals with a backbone, then it was animals that have fur, hair, male milk glands, and then animals with collarbones and grasping fingers, and so on and so forth. And that's what taxonomy does. All right, so now we're just gonna have a very, very short quiz on what we learned today. Okay, so number one, is there a specific definition to life? We talked about this multiple times. The answer is no, there isn't a specific definition, remembering the example that we could say living things move, but then non-living things can also move like a ball, right? So we gotta use our life functions to show our to define life. Excuse me. All right, number two, the system used to name living things is called. The answer is binomial nomenclature. So this is the two-word system. This two-word system that we have the genus and the species use to name every single organism we've discovered so far. Number three, what are the two words used in the system of classification? I literally just said this. The answer is D, genus and species. So like I said before, these are the two most basic. Species is the most basic, and then the next higher one is genus, and this makes up binomial nomenclature. Number four, what are the three domains? So the three domains are archaea, bacteria, and eukarya. Talking about those three domains, how archaea are bacteria living in harsh environments, and then bacteria are, bacteria, and eukarya, animal, plants, fungi, protists, and things like that. So thank you so much for listening to this video. Please subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you guys next week.